mention, hey, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Records here on Talk Radio version of the OMSR. Now Gen 4.5. I'll get to that in a sec. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Always do a little show like this. Let you know the clip order coming up in the whys and wherefores. Get a significantly longer highlights reel that way. Plus the quickie sport rant of the segment. The quickie sport rant of the segment and like the little legalese disclaimer I like to put out there to indemnify the OMSR position is going to come after the highlights. Because I'm going to take advantage of my new super duper DS3 speed and make sure what's called CYA, or the third person I talk with you, CMA, from now on. Had a little run-in with CBS over the weekend from the tournament. Was not pleasant. Anywho, we'll talk briefly and concisely about Mark Cuban's comments about NFL possibly imploding. And this was taken from The Herd and caught it midstream. But when Mark Cuban's on, the dude is so well spoken and doesn't miss a beat. I swear he doesn't even take a breath when he's talking. But when he talks, he makes sense. You gotta like the guy. For all the antics, you know, you saw it from showing on ESPN or any other medium, him displaying his passion for the Mavericks. Mark Cuban, the guy, you know, behind all that, you listen to him, he's a really nice, well-spoken, thoughts-provoking guy. Guy that makes you want to be a Mavericks fan. He's alluding to the fact, since I'm alluding to the fact, he was alluding to the fact, didn't catch this per se, and I'm also, you know, when he's on The Herd, it's a 15-minute spread, and that's just not possible to bring the whole thing. Nor would you want to necessarily watch it, so I got the best sound bites. What about the NFL trying to expand to like every night of the week on TV and football? You know, there's a reason why the BCS games aren't on This Is Not the Rant on Sundays, because they acquiesce that day to NFL football. So this notion of the NFL being like overreaching and looking kind of greedy, yeah, that's what's coming up. Roll clips.
This week, let's start with the football one. You talked about the league could implode in 10 years. They're greedy. Pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. Some people look at that and say, well, Mark owns an NBA team. It's Mark stirring the pot. So let's start with that. Is this talking about the NFL? Is it just gamesmanship by Mark Cuban?
No, not even a little bit. Honestly, I was shocked that the comment took off the way it did. You gotta understand, this wasn't a press conference. This wasn't some in-depth analysis that I was doing with somebody. You know, if you ever see where I do my interviews, I was on the Stairmaster before a game, and we were just, you know, shooting the you-know-what with a bunch of reporters, and it came up.
What is the difference, Mark, between growth and greed in business?
Well, you know, let's take a step back. It's very difficult to get to the top of the mountain. It's even more difficult to stay there. You know, whether you're a champion in a sport or whether you're a champion in business, and the NFL is obviously a champ in business. And the way you operate from the top of a mountain, you know, is very different because there's a balance between sustaining where you are and trying to grow. And when you lose some self-awareness and think you're infallible and that you got to the top of the mountain, you know, and that you can take it as high as you want, that's where greed starts to set in. And I'm not saying that the NFL is there. I'm saying that there's a risk that the NFL could go there.
It seems to me expansion, even in sports, could be driven by sort of a Wall Street culture that you have to grow. Could I argue that the NFL's constant growth is a cultural reality in business today?
Not all businesses, no, but in a lot of businesses, yes. And, you know, they're a private company. You know, it's a partnership between all the different teams, but there's still individual team profitability, obviously. When the salary cap grows X number of dollars, if the team's revenues don't grow that amount of dollars, they fall further behind. Now, everything I've heard from the NFL is that every team makes, you know, a crazy amount of money. So, you know, you would think that at some point, you want to start thinking, you know what, I don't need to press for more profits. I need to make sure that my fans are extremely happy and that I keep my fans rather than trying to grow for more. And I'll tell you, we've done that with the Mavs, or tried to. We've lowered season ticket prices twice. We lowered them after we went to the finals in 2006, and we've lowered them again this year. We continue to have $10 tickets. And so my attitude has always been, I don't have to squeeze more because, in my mind, owning a sports team isn't like a traditional business in that we're also owned by all of North Texas.
Yes.
It's just a different type of business. And I don't know, it's a fine line, it's a balance, and I'm not saying the NFL won't do it. Roger Goodell is brilliant. There's a lot of really smart people in that league. But I'm just saying there's a chance that they push too far.
By the way, Mark, fantasy football, you touched on that.
Yep.
Some people suggest, and I think it's certainly part of the equation, that fantasy football and gambling is driving a lot of the NFL's success. How much of their success is based on that, in your opinion?
I don't know, to be honest with you, but what I do know is that it does have an impact. And I actually, after all this hullabaloo on my comments, I did some Googling, and there have been some studies that connect the upside of the NFL with fantasy football. So it's not a question like, oh, it's 5% or 20% or 40%. What we do know it is some percent, and when you're trying to grow from the top of the mountain, there's not a lot of room for error. And part of my point was, the nature of technology and entertainment within technology is that things are transient. It's very difficult to have a 10-year run as an entertainment medium or, as a game with fantasy football. And I would bet the field to say that within the next 10 years, there's going to be something that comes along that's better using new technology than fantasy football is. And if that happens, what happens if all of a sudden the NFL is down in TV viewership and attendance 6%? Now, they're still crushing everybody else, but they're down 6%. And what if they're down 3% the year after that? It's just, it starts to snowball, and it's very difficult.
I could make an argument that the prices, the gate revenue, is becoming increasingly less relevant. For you right now, how relevant are ticket prices to your overall bottom line?
They're very relevant right now, but I agree 100% with you. They're becoming a declining percentage. The Mavs will have a new TV contract coming up, and presuming that nothing, implodes in terms of the TV economics, that'll be very beneficial to us. And then the NBA will have a new TV deal with the same risk but the same upside. And I said we just lowered ticket prices. One thing that's changed dramatically is now we've got a lot more analytics for ticket prices. Not just, it's not just Moneyball for players. There's also Moneyball for tickets. What's the right price for a ticket? And you get to see with all, SeatGeek and all these third-party tools, what exactly people are paying for tickets against which teams and when, what day of the week, and what are the, based off of weather. There's so much information that now we can see that, here's the right price for a ticket. So rather than trying to squeeze more, let's do right. And let's also realize that there's a cost to sell a ticket. And so rather than having to really spend a lot of money to sell those extra seats, let's price it, so it's really fair and fans get value. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. I sent a letter to, I think it was 4,000 seats of the Mavs, and said, look, we did an analytical evaluation of these seats, and we're lowering our prices 15% and to give you an advantage over the market price for buying a full season's worth of tickets as a season ticket holder. So to your point exactly, my goal with the Mavericks is we get the television deals that I hope we get, we'll reduce, particularly in the upper bowl, we'll reduce our seat prices even more, because that's the connection I want to our fans. And because I want to win more than anything, you can't undervalue the energy and the excitement a full house brings to a game.
You said something, and I've been warning Laker fans about this for some time. In a salary cap league, paying Kobe twice his value is problematic, and I don't think they're close. You said they could be down for a long time. Now, the power of the brand is clear. Last night, sold-out house. They do a great job in arena entertaining fans. How long do you believe? Because I think right now, Mark, you've been so successful, you have built-in equity with the Lakers. But how long, in your opinion, Mark, can you be bad with a huge brand like the Yankees or Lakers and keep selling tickets?
Well, in a market the size of L.A., forever.
You think so? Forever?
Yeah, just look at the Knicks. You know?
Yeah, it's amazing. Last night, Mark, the building was electric, and the Lakers are a bunch of regular guys nobody's heard of.
You got to recall, you're missing a point, though. The building was electric is a reflection of the fans and the beauty of NBA basketball, right? The difference between a team that is just killing it, let's just say the Spurs right now at 18,000, and the Sixers. Well, I looked at the box score last night from Orlando and Portland. Orlando is not on the way to a title. I mean, they've got a great foundation, and I'm a huge Oladipo fan, but they had 17,000 fans. The Lakers had 18,000-something fans. The delta between selling out, no seats left, and struggling, is not a huge number of people. People want to go to the games. People love the NBA experience. And I say it all the time. If you're with your kids last night, you're not going to remember the score. You probably don't remember the players on the court. You don't remember a jump shot or a dunk. But, your kids remember going with mom and dad, and you remember the look on your kids' faces when they went to the game. That's what the NBA sells.
Right on. So, on the Cookie Sport Rant of the segment, I'm going to continue on with my thoughts that I gave you guys all, with regard to Mark Cuban. This may even be a 2-for-1. But it's like, actors who play the good guy turn out to be kind of jerky in real life, and the guys who play the villains are actually kind of really nice guys, but they play the villains so well, you don't like them. If you met him, you wouldn't like him because you're envisioning, oh, that villain you played in so-and-so villain you played in such and such movie. I think Mark Cuban has been, what's the term you would use for that? Not so much victimized, but it'll come to me. But he's been portrayed as, the one NBA owner who's too involved. He's always there at the court. He's gotten ejected for an owner many, many times. But Mark Cuban, the guy beyond seeing his reaction on the court, is much like the analogy I just gave you with certain actors you may like, based on how they play their characters. But in real life, Mark Cuban is very well spoken. He's thought-provoking, and he's right about the ticket prices. Ticket prices is not the main vehicle that drives revenue anymore for these teams. So why not, instead of everything going up as it does, as it always has in our country and anywhere else in the world, things keep going up, inflation, except minimum wage is not seemingly keeping pace. Why not lower those ticket prices? Let's reverse the trend. I just don't see the NFL doing that. Okay, so all the video highlights courtesy to ESPN and The Herd. Colin, everything else to the OMSR. The OMSR sponsor being the DMCA, Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It does cover fair use, standard with minimal use, and derivatives. So thanks for watching. No silly DUIs while you're out there. We are later out.